What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Check this out, dude. The LG G8 was finally released, and honestly, I was kind of confused because I didn't really hear too much about this phone. I mean, I heard a lot about the Samsung Galaxy S10, but the G8, I didn't hear too much about it. But we're going to compare it to the LG G7 and kind of see, should you save your money and get a G7 or should you spend your money and get a G8? Obviously, the LG G8 is a better phone than the G7, so this is not saying the G7 is better. This is just kind of comparing the two. Not that many people got a chance to even mess with the G8, so this is just a quick impressions, kind of a bird's eye view of it. I will get my hands on the G8 and do an in-depth comparison of that, and I'll compare it to all those other phones too. But there's really a lot of key differences between the G8, and I did some renders, and I kind of did like a top 5 things I wanted to see in a G8 video. I don't really remember what I called it. And I honestly thought they were going to still keep an IPS panel and keep everything the same, but surprisingly, they pretty much kept the same dimensions in almost every single way. They kept the same 6.1 inch screen. It's now 1440p. The G7 was 1440p too, but they actually switched from an IPS panel to an OLED panel. And this is the first time in the LG G series that we've seen an OLED panel, and that's super crazy. And like I've stated before, if you're a longtime viewer, I own the G2, and the panel on that wasn't really that bad. And at that time, it was actually really, really good, but LG, for some reason, always stayed away from OLED panels. Now they finally brought it in with the G8, so this is a pretty decent competitor to a lot of the newer phones. IPS isn't horrible, but obviously OLED is much, much better. And in terms of every single other way these phones look, they look pretty much exactly the same. They both do have fingerprint sensors still on the back. Surprisingly though, I don't want to talk too much about this, but the G8 actually has a new way of unlocking your phone. So you can actually just hover your hand over the G8 screen and kind of leave it there for like a second, and then it'll acknowledge it and you can unlock your phone that way. But what I will say is that it's not necessarily, I think at this time it's like almost like a gimmick kind of thing. Like I don't think it's going to really take off. I think it's another extra cool feature. If they took away the fingerprint sensors to do that, then that would have been a dumb thing, but they kept it in. That's just an extra feature if you want to utilize it, and I really like that. The G7 did not have that. In a lot of ways, the G7 was kind of more so just like a basic phone. Like the G7 is a very safe phone, nothing really too crazy going on with it. It's a very good phone in my opinion. The G8 though kind of took a little bit more of a risk with that, and I actually prefer that, and I like when phone manufacturers take a risk but not at the sacrifice of giving up something else. And in this case, you can use that if you want to with the vein technology and the hand ID or whatever, but I really like that, and that's a really nice feature that LG put into the G8. Another cool thing with the front earpiece, the G7 still had a front earpiece obviously, but the G8 actually took that away, and now you can actually hear the calls and everything you have to do through the screen itself. So that is a really, really cool feature. Unfortunately, it doesn't act like a speaker, so it's not like a stereo speaker effect, but again, another quick technology thing they added. It kind of reminds me of like the Sharp Oculus Crystal from back in the day. It kind of had that same effect to it. So again, a little cool thing that G8 put into the G7. And again, I like when phone manufacturers do take these risks. Now, both of these phones do have dual cameras. So these are dual camera sensors like I've stated. The main camera on the LG G7 was 16 megapixels and the main camera on the G8 is 12 megapixels. I'm not sure why there's a little bit of difference there. Hopefully these specs are right and they didn't mess up like Samsung did on their main page. But again, megapixels are not everything. With the secondary camera though, they're both 16 megapixels. So again, just because it's lower in megapixel count doesn't mean it's not going to be as good. Look at the Google Pixels. Those are only like 1 camera sensors, and those are probably the best cameras out right now. They're both going to be able to shoot ultra wide photos and everything like that. So in terms of everything, both cameras are going to be great. The LG G8s will probably be better though overall. The front cameras are 8 megapixels on both. There's a dual camera sensor on the front of the LG G8, so that's super, super cool. You can do wide angle photos on both of them, and overall, I'll definitely say that both cameras will do you just fine. But the G8 should be better and have more features. And in terms of the body and everything, they're both IP68 dust and water resistance. Obviously, fingerprint sensors on both and face recognition on both as well. So in terms of that, in terms of the whole resistance and body and just kind of the functionality of both phones, they're going to be solid. Don't even worry about it. Now, I'll tell you the specs of both of them, and then obviously I'll tell you afterwards that the LG G8 will be faster. The G7 had a Qualcomm Snapdragon 845 chipset, an octa-core CPU, an Adreno 630 GPU, and 4 gigs of RAM, where the LG G8 had a Qualcomm Snapdragon 855, an octa-core processor, an Adreno 640 GPU, and 6 gigs of RAM, and a little bit of difference here too, so we have an additional 2 gigs of RAM. And in my opinion, I thought the LG G7 was a pretty fast phone. I never really had any problems with it, so this is only going to be an even faster version of that, as well as being able to handle more apps in the background. So I think that's a pretty cool thing as well. The base models of both of these phones also changed, so the G7's was 64 gigs, the G8's is 128 gigs, and you do have micro SD card slots on both of these as well. You can go up to 2000 gigs on both of them, which is insane. So again, something that will rival the Samsungs. I think Samsung Galaxy S10 can only support up to 1.5 gigs, but again, those have higher storage variants than the G8 and the G7, so a little cool thing right there too. And LG, thank God they did this. I was talking that they probably wouldn't do this, but they ended up doing it. They put a bigger battery in the G8, thank God. There was a 3000 mAh battery in the LG G7, and now they upgraded that to 3500 mAh on the LG G8, and much love for LG for doing that. I was thinking there might decrease, a lot of phone manufacturers do that kind of dumb thing where they increase and decrease all that stuff. Luckily, LG actually kept it, and I'm so glad they did that, and they made it even bigger than that. It does have Qualcomm Quick Charge 3.0, just like the LG G7, has Qi wireless charging and all that good stuff. And in my opinion, man, this is a very, very solid upgrade, just that in and of itself. And I love when phone manufacturers increase their battery sizes, and I always want to show so much love when phone manufacturers do that. So overall, I mean, I pretty much hit all the quick points. I think both of these phones are going to be super solid choices. I will say though that if the LG G8 was like a 10 out of 10, like an amazing, was perfect phone, which it's probably not, but let's say it was a 10 out of 10, the LG G7 in my opinion is probably like an 8.5 out of 10. I mean, the crucial features it's missing, I mean, it's not really missing anything crucial that the LG G8 has. Really, the G8 just has a little bit more features and a little bit more gimmicks here and there, like the hand wave feature and a bigger battery. But really, if you can just get by with a smaller battery size, and even the G7's batteries isn't horrible. The screen is IPS, but really, I think it's a pretty good looking IPS panel, if I do say so myself. So I'll leave it like this. If you currently own a G7, do not upgrade to a G8. It's really not even worth the upgrade to go and buy that phone and sell this one, whatever. But if you currently own like a G5 or a G4, or a Samsung Galaxy S6 or something like that, an iPhone 6 or something like that, the G7 is still a very good phone in my opinion, and I like it a lot. The G8 obviously is just better. So you can get a G7 for probably like less than $300 now, where it's probably like twice or three times the price for a G8. So I'd probably just say, man, get a G7 if you currently own a phone that's lower than like a G6 or LG G6 or something like that. If you currently own a phone that's older than like 2 years or something. But the G8, if you have the money to spend, is a very, very good phone in my opinion. I'll leave a link to an LG G7 in the description below. It'll be the first link down there if you want to purchase it from Amazon. I'll find the cheapest one on there and link it down below, but make sure you get it through that link because you can actually help support the channel. We can do more videos like this, more comparisons, more giveaways, things like that. So that is pretty much it. If you have any questions or anything, leave it down in the comment section below. Hit that like button, that'll mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. Every single subscriber that we get really does count, so it'll mean so much if you guys could hit that. Also check out the other links down in the description as well. My Twitter, my Instagram, my second channel, all those links are linked down below. I would really appreciate if you guys could check it out. But more importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.